Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be cutting some parts of the sprues, sanding them with a sanding stick, building up the wings, breaking my head with some filling, mixing a few paints, and using some weathering techniques, so stay tuned. So the construction of the build begins by cutting off the major airframe parts of the sprues. Now at the very outset I must say that the cockpit of this particular kit is non-existent. It's just got two L-shaped plastic parts which look like seats which have to be fitted inside the fuselage. So I didn't bother with any further detailing. I just went ahead with the sanding and cleanup of the leftover sprue on the parts, and then did a quick dry test fit of the fuselage, and here you can see that the fuselage aligns pretty nicely. It's got nice locator pins, which is a plus point, so you can easily align the fuselage halves together. I then took the opportunity to fix the seats inside the cockpit, and after having struggled for nearly 10 minutes trying to align those seats on the right side of the fuselage, silly me realized that that's not the way to do it, and this is actually what happens when you don't look at the instructions even once. I had to give myself a knock on my head because there are proper alignment notches on the left side of the fuselage for those seats to align. Anyway, I then came back to my standard cyanoacrylate glue to fix and glue the fuselage halves together. Now the wing is one single piece and it slides in from the bottom of the fuselage, and you can see that it aligns pretty nicely. I then quickly moved on to the assembly of the air intakes, which is two parts. The first part is the splitter, which goes on the inner side, and then there is the air intake cover which comes on top of the splitter. Now the horizontal stabilizers, they align pretty nicely, but the only grudge I have is that they don't have the appropriate anhedral which you see on the Phantom horizontal stabilizers. At this point I had decided to go wheels up or in flight with my Phantom build, so I wanted to close up the undercarriage gear bay doors, and as you can see here I am cleaning up that extra protrusion which is for the wheels to be attached. Now this kit doesn't give you the option of constructing it in the in-flight configuration. The only configuration it has is wheels down, so I had to trim off that wheel slot basically, and also I had to do a lot of trimming along the edges of the gear bay door covers so that they fit and close up nicely. I then began working on the drop tanks, which is just two parts that attach together like so, and I glued them together with cyanoacrylate glue. And then finally, after some cleanup of the leftover flash, I moved on to fixing the gaps. Now this is the first time I'm showing you how I utilize putty. So this is Tamiya white putty. I just squeeze out a dollop of the white putty on an old credit card, and then cut out a piece of cardboard to be used as an applicator, and then along the seam line I start applying the putty. As you can see here, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for the putty to completely cure, although I did give it about an hour or so, and then I used my 150 grit sanding stick to sand off the excess putty, and that helped to smoothen out the seam line along the air intakes and the fuselage. I then used isopropyl alcohol on a small piece of tissue paper and then wiped the entire surface of the model clean. Since I was going to mount my aircraft in flight, I had to drill a hole through the exhaust nozzles, and here you can see me basically drilling out the 0.5 mm hole with a 0.5 mm drill bit on a pin vise. All right, then I primed the entire aircraft in a black primer and then moved on to the further detailing. This is Camlin white paint that basically I am using to stipple the paint on the entire surface of the model. Now this is on the lower surface, and I did a similar kind of stippling on the upper surface, basically adding these little dots of white paint, and this will help to show a very faded look once I start painting up the model with the base coat. Now for the base coat on the underside, I used Camlin Grey and mixed it with white to get that light grey paint. And here you can see me painting the light grey color on the underside while watching Captain VFC's video. I really love his videos. Do check out his channel if you're interested in such modeling videos. Right then, I moved on to the upper surface of the model, and this is basically the grey blue or the dark grey blue base coat on the German F-4F Phantoms. So I simply used Fevicryl Grey and darkened it with some black to achieve the appropriate tonality. However, here you can see that the pre-shading that I did with the stippling of the white paint has nearly gotten obliterated, and I couldn't really help it. So I thought of another idea at this point, and we will come to that shortly. Here you can see me putting the camouflage pattern, and I am spraying Camlin sap green darkened with a little bit of black to give this olive drabby look. Now the splinter camo of the geometric shape of the camouflage on the German F4s looks simple to the eye, but it took me nearly 2 hours to mask this entire pattern. And once I had painted the olive drab, I removed the masking, and I'm pretty chuffed with how the entire camouflage pattern has turned out here. Now, although the pattern looks pretty simple if you look at the pictures, but it's very deceiving to the eye, and it took me a long time to mask, but that extra bit of effort in masking has paid off the results in the end. For the exhaust deflector panels on the underside of the Phantom behind the engines, I used this Pen Touch silver marker because I felt that this would be a much easier and faster way of painting that silver rather than using paints which would take much longer to dry. The model was then gloss coated with Future, and then I used Tamiya panel line accent color to accentuate the panel lines. As you can see here, I'm just putting a pin wash, which means you put the panel wash only inside the panels. This ensures that the wash stays confined within the panel lines. As I saw in various pictures, the German F4s have been kept in quite a pristine condition right up till their retirement. Okay, so once the wash in the panels had dried, I used this Winsor Newton Artist's White Spirit, dipped a cotton Q-tip in that, and then cleaned off the excess wash from the panels, just leaving the wash within the panels, ensuring that the transition of the panel lines is very subtle. Okay, then time to deck up the aircraft, and I used Mr. Mark's setter. Basically, I applied Mr. Mark's setter on the surface of the model and then used my standard procedure of applying the decals. The decals were dipped in warm water for about 30 seconds, and then once they slid off the backing paper, they were applied to the surface of the model where they were supposed to go. Now this red demarcation line, I believe it is a sort of a formation line, but whatever it is, if you know, let me know in the comments. But this formation line basically was slightly longer than expected. So I first applied the entire formation line decal over the surface of the model, and then trimmed off the last roughly 1 to 2 mm of extra decal that remained in the end. Now there are two squadron logos, one for the left side of the air intake and one for the right side. And while applying the decals, something went wrong and I happened to misplace the right side squadron logo. I searched high and low for it, but there was no point. It was gone, just disappeared from this planet. Okay, then white, black and Prussian blue oil paints were then used. They were squeezed out on a small piece of cardboard, and then after masking the underside, I applied the dot filtering method, which is applying various colors to detail the blueness of the exhaust, and then smudging all of them up with a brush that is lightly dipped in artist's white spirit, and then cleaned up with a tissue paper, and then smudged all of the colors to produce that blue exhaust look. Okay, and finally time to mount the aircraft on its steel wires. This is 1 mm steel wire that has been put through the hole that was drilled through the exhaust. And once those positions were figured out, I then attached the final parts, which are the two drop tanks. Now the kit also comes with two AIM-7 Sparrow missiles, but I did not attach them, and we'll get to that shortly. All right, so here we are on the rotating disc of glory. Here's the McDonnell Douglas F-4F Phantom of the Luftwaffe, serial number 3828 from Jagdgeschwader 71 or JG-71 Richthofen. This particular airframe 3828 was amongst the first of 175 F-4Fs that were actually sold to Germany, with it also being amongst the first 50 airframes to undergo the ICE program, or the Improved Combat Efficiency program. Now this particular airframe did go through a couple of revisions during the course of its career, under which the F-4Fs were upgraded to the standard to carry AIM-120 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles. The German F-4Fs prior to the ICE program carried only the AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, and the ICE program enabled them to launch the AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles. However, the missiles included with the kit are AIM-7 Sparrow missiles, which the German Phantoms were never configured to fire, and so I decided to omit them from this build. Another part of my research was on the paint scheme. So the paint scheme that you see here is the Norm 72 camouflage pattern of gray-blue base with a green geometric camouflage pattern, whereas the camouflage pattern shown on the box art of this particular kit is the one that existed after the ICE upgrade came in. And this particular camouflage pattern is the one worn by the German F-4F Phantoms in the operational role prior to the ICE upgrades. The only grudge that I have with this kit is the horizontal stabilizers. They are not aligned at the correct anhedral that an F-4 Phantom should have. So that's the end of my rant and the end of this video as well, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up, to consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to comment, because I love interacting in the comments. I'm leaving you with some beauty shots of the F-4F German Phantom. And so till we meet again in the next video, Swing Wing Sing signing off. Keep modeling, keep having fun. Goodbye and take care.